Why did you click on this video? It's because you're a Power fan and you just saw the finale and have major issues and major questions regarding some of the things that happened in it. I'm here to tell you that you're not crazy. I believe the reason that most of these things happen this way is because what's going on, everyone? It's Just Be here, and we're breaking down the series finale of Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 4, Episode 10, titled Ghost in the Machine, of course. This was a major episode. About almost 500 of you were on my live watch party as we discussed this at length, but I know a lot of you still have lingering questions that I want to help answer. So we're diving into some of the biggest parts of this episode right now. Let's go. So in the aftermath of Monet's death at what I call the Red Wedding,
slaughter the Starks at the Red Wedding.
The remaining Tejadas, emotionally torn from the loss of their mother, the matriarch of the family, struggle to hold it together. They simultaneously agree that they need to find Noma and get revenge on her as quickly as they possibly can. So they gather what remaining soldiers they can find, including Lil Cousin Dirk, and all of them slide through in their custom designer gangster clothes, because apparently you need that to go on a mission, to try to find Noma at her last known whereabouts. They only managed to find Anya there instead, whom they kidnapped for leverage. Now, Anya ended up remaining behind because she refused to go with her mother to escape the country to Lagos, Nigeria, tired of being lied to by Noma. Meanwhile, Tariq, Braden, and Effie still have Carter wrapped up and stashed away in a garage somewhere with his police cruiser he crashed in there as well, breathing in all that carbon monoxide for hours on end. But anyway,
I mean, logically, guys.
They scrambled to find a way to take Carter down without it coming back on them, but while also getting rid of the evidence he has on them deleting Zion. So it leads Braden and Effie back to Carter's house, where they discover his computer that can remotely read files from his work computer. They find the evidence of him deleting Kamal Tate and puts together a series of events that gets them teamed up with the rest of the Tejadas after, of course, exchanging condolences on Monet's passing, which then they all decide to use Drew to go to the precinct and erase the footage. Now, during this, Carter also tries to manipulate evidence in his favor while he's there. And so the culmination of this is that Tariq and his crew secretly working with Detective Nico to prove that Carter has lost it and is not as loyal to them as they are to him.
Oh, you mother... Okay. All right.
So he gets arrested eventually by Detective Nico, who was listening, and Detective Kamal Tate's murder is pinned on him, as well as a number of other things. And that brings Carter's story, seemingly for now, to an end. But I think what a lot of people had issues was the fact that what was sad about all of this is that we didn't even get to hear from or see Rashad Tate and him and how he reacts to this news. If you know the background history of Rashad Tate, he has an edge to him, and so this was a huge opportunity that was missed. I feel, and a lot of people also feel that same way as well. It's really sad to see how Lorenz Tate was pushed aside this season after being a series regular for so long, and his political story that seemingly is left unresolved from last season that they were building. But how do you feel about Tate not being involved in the finale? Let me know in the comments. Now, Noma should know that in this life, it's blood for blood. So a series of events are orchestrated that leave Anya with Tariq, dropping her off at her mother's last known residence. But unbeknownst to her, it was a trap. And new Monet, which I'm calling her, aka Diana, comes through, fires off a couple of rounds in her, tragically ending her life in a sad twist of events. In this moment, you can see Noma screaming out in horror, holding out her daughter's lifeless body in her hands. Now, to me, this was the most emotionally gripping scene in the whole episode, and I truly did feel for her. You can see Tariq looking on, completely shocked, because even though he was in cahoots with them, Diana made that decision on her own. But I gotta say, Tariq is a cold one though. I mean, he set this poor girl up all season long, innocent girl who knew nothing about her mother's life, only to cause her to be deleted directly because of him. I'm telling y'all, in the future, the character of Tariq has a lot to answer for. That plot armor can't last forever. But shout out to Caroline Chikeze, who plays Noma, for that amazing performance. Now, Noma's story comes to an expected and predicted end when the Tejadas set her up to believe that they are taking her jet at the airfield. But in response, she tries to call the police to intercept them, as if she's playing an informant. Kane takes the lead on this and allows Drew and Diana to temporarily get wrapped up, only for him to get the drop on Noma, taking her off the board once and for all. Now, in this scene, to me, I had no idea that Doctor Strange was guest starring with his Marvel teleporting circles, because that's the only way to explain how Kane magically disappears and makes it out alive after catching a few bullets in an exchange of gunfire between he and the police and is dripping blood all over the place. Make it make sense. Now, if you weren't paying attention, here's where I suspect that the last minute rewrite of the show likely happened after it came back from production after the writer's strike. Hold on real quickly. You guys want to see something crazy? Over 99% of you guys that watch my content are not subscribed. So I'm asking real quickly, if you don't mind, just hit the like button and hit subscribe real quickly. I'd love to keep on giving this content to you guys, and lets me know that people actually are interested. Feel free to do that, man. Really appreciate it a lot. Would help me out a long way in growing my small channel. Thanks. Now back to the video. We now see Blanca Rodriguez and Jenny Sullivan, who appear out of nowhere, missing all season except Blanca, who was inside the first episode of this season, joined by Davis and Perla, who was his law assistant. Now, all of them are hashing out what actually happened. So this is very important for everyone to understand the implications of what's going on now. The narrative that they're delivering here is that Noma is the queen pin in the RICO investigation case that they had to close, and that she is the big bad wolf of the entire drug empire in New York, and that the Tejadas and Tariq were not involved. So they take this as an opportunity to restore their names and careers after being embarrassed from the flop after flop after flop of failing to build this RICO case. Now, that's one. Number two is that Agent Young's murder was pinned on Noma and Obi. Now, to me, holes that are still open are Zion's murder, which I guess we can almost fill in the gap and say Detective Nico would likely cover that up. And then there's also Steve's murder, who was the dealer that sold to Elle and caused her to OD, which we didn't hear back on, but we know Tariq and Braden were spotted by an eyewitness entering the building to take him out, and other people around them heard him do it. So that's still an open plot thread right there. Kane has to go on the run because he had an open shootout with the police, so he's a wanted man no matter which way you flip it. Effie sacrifices to give him whatever cash she has left for going to Stanford so that he can go on the run. Now, why? Not too sure, because it's not like the Tejadas were broke and didn't have any stashes of cash around the place that they could meet up and slide to him. Anyways, he gives her a forehead kiss, and let me tell y'all something. That forehead kiss is deep. Deep, deep, deep. That means to him, Effie is bae, and it's a sign of protection and deep endearment. But what do you think the future could potentially hold for their story in another show or something? Let me know in the comments. So wrapping up, we now see the Tejadas are basically all going their separate ways. Drew to Paris, Kane in the wind, and Diana to God knows where. Tariq and Effie end up resuming their school studies, and he establishes leadership and control of their organization, with Braden running the clubs and other things. Now, Chinedu agrees to meet with Tariq, who I'm not sure if he's aware is directly responsible for his niece's death and also was his sister's adversary, which is very problematic in my opinion. So effectively, he becomes the new Lobos, the Connect, as I predicted in my video a few weeks ago that the Nigerian Connect to Noma would end up becoming Tariq's as well. And we see here Tariq becomes, well, as he says, a ghost. The apex predator he always was declaring he would want it to be. Someone who can move in the shadows undetected with an underground network. And that's it. Still tons of dangling plots left unanswered, but in the end, we get a post-credit scene of Tariq talking to someone, getting ready to make a move and needing his help. And to this person, he refers to them as family, which most people are suspecting to be Tommy. And logically, it makes sense. Tommy personally is my assumption, but of course I could be wrong. I also did technically predict that he would appear in this episode, but if it's true, I guess this is the only form that we will, in fact, get him in if it's him. But that wraps up Power Book 2 Ghost, guys. a crazy whirlwind wild ride of a show, had its highs and lows. I mean, let's be honest about it. It wasn't always the best at all times, but definitely shout out to the cast and the crew all the way from the top to the bottom who were doing their thing. Overall, I think it was as best of a story that we could probably get. And again, it had some issues here and there, had some misses, but I think it was balanced in the hits and misses, in my opinion, for a show. And we can't always get what we want. I think a lot of people were really looking to see if we were going to see a good old boy Ghost come back, but I guess that effectively answers that question. Unfortunately, I wish that they had technically at least done something of that sorts, because that would at least allow a lot of the theories and predictions of him still being alive to get put to bed. But maybe they want to keep on milking that gravy train for years to come, because they know people are going to watch hoping to, oh, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? But you know, that's what it's going to be. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming with me on this journey for breaking down Power Book 2 Ghost. Of course, Raising Kanan is up next, and I will be covering that, as that is my favorite Power spinoff. But let's have a conversation in the comments. What did you guys think of this finale? What are some of your pain points? What are some of the things that you guys enjoyed? Let's talk it out, man. And if you derived any value from this breakdown, feel free to like the video, subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Peace.